The railroads are speaking and talking about the things they want, they need, and how the threat to the nation's supply chain will be attacked if they step out of the story. How about, okay, you give us everything we want, or we're giving you nothing. I have a nephew that works for the railroad. I have a very good friend of mine from the 82nd that went on to work driving trains on the railroad. But the way I see it, this is like the second mistake the railroad has made. They've made it this far because they were already on the ground. But that first time when they could have bought into the airlines, they had the whole system set up, schedules, everything. They were in such a position to just move forward. And they said, no, we're not getting involved with that. We've got this. What is that? They didn't see the future. And so they lost all the airline stuff. They could have been a monopoly in a way that nobody would ever be able to fight against, had they just known back then the possibilities. Or maybe they did know the possibilities and they thought it might be too much for one person to hold such power. Still waiting to find that out. But now they're going through another thing. They think they've got incentive. They think they've got leeway. They think they've got the power. Well, let's go back about 100 years, somewhere up to 100 years, where my grandpa had signed a lease thing with the railroads that ran through his property out back of my dad's house. My dad would tell me about this. And my dad went to township hall meetings and stood up and made a stink when they were trying to put the trails in down the railroad after they pulled up the tracks. And people are, oh, and my dad's like, no, it's in the contract. If the railroad ever comes out, that land goes back to the citizen. So this is the part I'm showing you how dirty even my idea is, because the truth is that piece of property was supposed to come back to the landowners, and instead somebody in the government decided they were going to give it to a bike path, a snowmobile trail. They pulled up the rails going up to Mackinac, and they took it for themselves. And he said his thing. Not enough people cared because they didn't own property on a railroad. So, the only way to win a vote is to have everybody invested. That's all. That's all it is. People vote for things that they want. They don't care what anybody else suffers. They don't. Okay. You're still a working class man. You still have no right to say what you think. You can write a letter to your congressman, but you see how that goes. Just like them telling me that I didn't get my damn GI Bill. until after I got out and I wrote the president himself, and then these fucking people show up and they say, oh, we got it taken care of for you. You already sent me a letter saying you can't do anything about it because you're too fucking pussified. Like a cat running into the dark corner, hoping nobody sees you. Pussified. Excuse me while I clear my throat. What do you want? Act like it's natural if you get it. And if you don't get it, act like it's the worst thing in the world. Oh, is it you're better than anybody else? Who do you expect to run into on the road? I just lost it altogether. Started thinking about other things. I was talking about people voting. I was talking about what do you want, what do you get. I was talking about people surprising you with their own self-interests, not understanding that their self-interests are more highly related to helping others than they are to helping themselves. I'm not trying to say take care of each other. I'm just saying be nice. The railroads are speaking about how they're such a part of the supply chain. Yeah. Like they can't be lost. They've made one mistake already, letting the airlines go. Now they're making the second mistake. They're thinking that they own this shit. And in reality, government already stole the railroad lease from the owners and gave it to the bicyclists and the snowmobilers. How many times you hear those people put in the same sentence? They probably hate being related. So they can just give it over to the truck drivers. They got enough land on each side of the railroad where they already pulled the metal up. There's nothing out there. All they got to do is pave 2 lanes of highway and it'd be like Alaska. Just driving all the way to Mackinac. All they've got to do is pull the leases and they can make freeways driving through these poor bastards' backyards. Listening to that in the night. Thought I had 80 acres so I wouldn't have to hear anything of the highway. And now it's running through my fucking backyard.